Alright, good morning Year 10. This is the second week of my modelling the Elizabethan England GCSE exam answers to support you with your home learning. So this week we're going to do something slightly different. Instead of a 16 marker, we're going to look at a 4-mark question and a 12-mark question. So we know, similar to the crime and punishment paper, the Elizabethan England exam has a 4-marker, a 12-marker, and then a 16-marker. So today we're going to look at the first two. So I have done one of the 4 markers for you, and I would like you to do the second, but I'll just go through them to kind of support you with that. The 4 markers today are looking at the plots against Elizabeth in kind of the earlier, or actually throughout her reign. The first, which I have done, looks at the Ridolfi plot of 1571, and I would like you to do the Babington plot of 1586. So just to kind of remind us about what they were, the Ridolfi plot was where an Italian banker who was a spy to Pope Philip II arranged a plot to murder Elizabeth and put Mary, Queen of Scots, on the throne in her place. The plan was for the Duke of Norfolk to marry Mary, Queen of Scots, and lead the rebellion against Elizabeth with Spanish support. So we remember that the Duke of Norfolk was also involved in the revolt of the Northern Earls. So he's quite prominent. He's kind of an annoying character to Elizabeth because he's kind of fluttering around as a threat. William Cecil actually uncovers the plot, and the Duke of Norfolk was executed. However, the big kind of thing with this is that Elizabeth is reluctant to execute Mary, Queen of Scots, and Roberto Ridolfi, who kind of arranged and orchestrated the plot, escapes, as he was not in England at this time. So now that we know all this information, for a 4-mark question, describe 2 features of it. As you can see, I've answered it in this way. One feature of the Ridolfi plot was that it was orchestrated by an Italian banker named Roberto Ridolfi, who was a spy to Pope Philip II. Okay, it's got my factual information, and it says kind of key feature of the plot itself. Another feature of the Ridolfi plot was that it rested on the Duke of Norfolk leading a rebellion against Queen Elizabeth with support of Spanish forces. The plan was discovered, and Norfolk was executed as a result in 1572. So again, kind of factual information and another feature. That's all you need for 4 marks, relatively straightforward and quite simple. What I would like you to now do, please, is describe 2 features of the Babington plot of 1586. So similar to the last one, I'm just going to kind of go through it to remind you what the Babington plot was. However, if you feel confident you know, then please pause the video here and attempt the answer yourself, and then you can kind of listen to what I say to kind of correct yourself. So if you feel confident in answering the question without my support, have a go now and pause your video. I'm going to go through the Babington plot for those who haven't paused, and we can which will allow you to remind yourself of the information around that. So the Babington plot was the last of the 3 plots. Throckmorton was the second one, which was in 1583. Okay, so the Babington plot was in 1586. These are all kind of assassination attempts against Elizabeth, and they were all actually uncovered. So the Babington plot similarly centred around the idea of murdering Elizabeth and putting Mary, Queen of Scots, on the throne in her place. All 3 similarities focus around murdering Elizabeth, because she's a Protestant really, and putting Mary, Queen of Scots, on the throne in her place. The Duke of Guise, who's Mary, Queen of Scots' cousin, who's living in France, the aim was for him to invade from France with 60,000 men and put Mary, Queen of Scots, on the throne. This was orchestrated, basically created and set up and organised by Anthony Babington, a Catholic with links to the French. However, like the other 2, this plot was uncovered, and Babington was hanged, drawn and quartered. But what was particularly memorable about this plot was that it was the final straw for Mary, Queen of Scots, who as a result was executed in 1587. Mary, Queen of Scots has been around continuously and has a prominent role in all of these plots. yeah, but Elizabeth keeps sparing her life, keeps saying, no, I don't want to execute her, I'm going to keep her locked up. However, this is the final straw, the third and final plot. Elizabeth finally gives in to Parliament and accepts the fact that Mary Queen of Scots has to be executed to secure her safety in her role. Okay, so what I would like you to do, please, with that information I've just read you, is to answer that 4-mark question, describe 2 features of the Babington Plot. If you want to listen to it again, go back and listen to it. But one feature of the Babington Plot was, another feature of the Babington Plot was, make sure you use factual information. Moving forward, I now also want to do a 12-mark question with you. So we've looked at a 16-mark question with you last week, and in the first YouTube video I gave you, a how far do you agree type question. This week I want to look at an explain question. So a 12-marker, which we know means 3 paragraphs and no conclusion. And the question today is, explain why many think there was a golden age in Elizabethan England. 12 marks, okay? The stimulus you've been given is education and Elizabethan theatre. But first, what I just want to kind of talk about is, what does the meaning of golden age signify? What does golden age mean? So again, pause the video and just write down a couple of thoughts. When you look at that question, what do you think? Explain why many think there was a golden age in Elizabethan England. What is it asking of you? So pause the video, write down a couple ideas, and we'll go through it. So what is a golden age? For me, a golden age implies something good, a time of happiness, of prosperity. Life is improving. There's not a danger. There's not this worry of war. Things are looking up. So for me, the question is asking, what good thing happened in education that means we can say it was a golden age? Was there a revolution? What improvements were there in education and in theatre? As you've seen, I've answered the first paragraph for you. So this is the idea of kind of, I've answered the first paragraph for you. The second and third paragraph I would like you to answer yourselves. Okay, so for me, the first paragraph, just reading through it, and remember it's in Peel structure, so we emphasize that explanation. But what I've put is, one reason many thought there was a golden age in Elizabethan England was because of improvements in education. For example, this is my Peel structure, Protestants believed people should be able to read and interpret the Bible in their own language, and there was an increase in business and trade in Elizabethan years. What does this mean? Why is this important? This meant that people were now encouraged and required to be literate, which is to read and write, and complete basic arithmetic, which is maths. As a result, new schools were created that provided this education, such as the 42 new grammar schools that were founded in the 1560s and the 30 more added in the 1570s. However, it is important to note that these improvements existed only to those who had the money to access them, and for many of the working class, education still remained a far-off dream. Despite this, it can be said that the Elizabethan age was golden, as increasing numbers of children could access formal education which had never been seen before. So that is my modelled paragraph. A couple of things I wanted to highlight. As you can see, I've done it in a Peel structure. First part is the point, for example, is my evidence, this meant is my explanation. It is this blue sentence I wanted to just pick out. This is for the kind of higher, this is for the higher marks. Okay, I'm kind of adding extra information into this paragraph. I could have left it out, but I wanted to really stress the fact that although there was an improvement in education, for many, particularly the poor, the peasants, the working class, they would not see these improvements. There were noticeable educational improvements in the Elizabethan age, but this was mainly only for the rich or people who had the money to access this. Okay, so for the peasants or for the working class, they wouldn't be able to access this type of education. And I've included that as this is for your kind of grade 7, 8, and 9, just to include this extra information. And lastly, you've seen this is my link paragraph, link sentence, beg your pardon. Okay, so this is why I would say that there was a golden age in education. If we look at theatre, which is the other stimulus, I've given you the first sentence. Another reason many thought that there was a golden age in Elizabethan England was because of the Theatrical Revolution. What can we put in this? What do we know about theatre in the Elizabethan age? Yeah, what improvements, what revolution happened with the theatre? So we know before Elizabeth, when the country was Catholic, plays were often called mystery plays. These were based on stories from the Bible and were a way for the church to kind of control interpretations of the Bible. Elizabeth, when she turned the country Protestant, was concerned about religious violence, and so she put a stop to this. By doing so, there was this new space for theatre to kind of enter. And what you saw were these new non-religious plays that people had never heard of or seen before, new creativity. People were so used to watching plays and knowing the ending because they knew the Bible. However, these new plays, they didn't know the ending. It was an exciting time. And so this is what's called the Theatrical Revolution. Exciting new plays developed where the endings were not known. New theatres were constructed, including Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. You've got the Rose Theatre, all these amazing new theatrical companies kind of exploiting this theatrical revolution. So that is why you could call it a golden age for English theatre. Shakespeare is the notable kind of example there. And the final reason that many thought there was a golden age in Elizabethan England was because, and this is where I want you to use your own information or research or your notes to kind of answer this last paragraph. A couple examples you could use as pointers. You could say that there was a golden age in exploration. You can talk about Francis Drake and his circumnavigation of the globe in 1577. You could talk about poor laws, the introduction of poor relief, especially the Vagabonds Act of 1572 that established a national poor rate. Okay, so all these improvements in life, in discovery, that you could talk about a golden age. So what I would like you to please do is complete those final 2 paragraphs and then email or send them to me, or if you're doing them on Microsoft Teams, I would like you to please just submit it and I can mark them and I can see your work. If there are any questions, please message me on WeDuck and we can go from there. But I hope that breakdown was simple and straightforward and helpful. Okay, if there's any comments, please let me know. And as always, stay safe and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Many thanks. Bye-bye.